Shalom, Saints, and welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Arthur Bailey. Today's broadcast was recorded live at House of Israel. Did you know that you can attend our services live on the internet every Saturday at 11 a.m. and our Thursday discipleship training every Thursday at 7 p.m.? All you have to do is go to www.arthurbaileyministries.com/TV. That's www.arthurbaileyministries.com/TV. I look forward to having you join us for our live internet broadcast. And now, enjoy today's broadcast.
House of Israel services are held weekly at 1334 Hill Road, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28277. 11 a.m. Saturday mornings and 7 p.m. Thursday evenings, Eastern Standard Time. The following broadcast is made possible by generous contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Motivating, inspiring, challenging, encouraging, deepening, strengthening, and enhancing your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, Arthur Bailey.
Now, we're going to move into the next phase. If in fact YehoVaH scattered the people and confound the language that they could not communicate, you notice that everywhere Abraham went, there is no indication in the Bible that the people in the different tribes and regions that he went to, that there was a translator. Not one time do we see translation. Now, I dare say that everybody that Abraham talked to did not speak Syrian. Abraham was a Syrian. Abraham was not a Hebrew. The Hebrew language, as we know it, is a compilation of various dialects, because when we read that Abraham is speaking to all of these different kings, and he's buying land over here, he's buying a cave over there, he goes up to Egypt. These are different languages that are being spoken, and there is no indication in the scripture that there's interpreters interpreting this language so that everybody is talking on the same page. We just assume. Now, we do know that by the time the children of Israel came from Babylon, according to Ezra, that Ezra now has to interpret the Torah in the hearing of the Israelites, because they had learned the language of the Babylonians and had lost the original language that the Torah was given in, so they couldn't even hear the Torah being read and understand, because they had lost the language. Where am I going? Moses is being trained in the house of Pharaoh, and to be a good ruler, you have to be familiar with the dialects of the people within your kingdom. Moses leaves Egypt, travels, and he is communicating. He comes into a land where there's people, there's women, there's other individuals giving them a hard time. They are trying to water their animals. Moses communicates with the women. Moses communicates with the people. And Moses hadn't, to our knowledge, been in that land before. Are you all following me at all? I hope I'm not losing you, because I need you to understand where I'm going. Moses is a wise man. Moses is a very smart, educated man. So when YehoVaH comes to Moses and says, Moses, I got a job for you. Moses said, please. Been there, done that. I don't want to do that no more. I do not want to be the ruler. I do not want to lead. I don't want to have anything to do with people. I'm comfortable out here with these sheep. Now leave me alone. Those was Moses' words, my translation. He wanted nothing to do with that. Because when it comes down to going in there, getting those people, bringing them back, now getting all of that Egypt out of them, getting the word into them, Moses' job, as he's seen it, was that now I have to talk to these people all day and all night. Day after day after day after day. I got to listen to their disputes. I got to resolve their issues. I got to bring conflict resolution. I have to counsel this one, and I have to counsel that one, and I have to counsel that one. And I start in the morning, and the line is all the way around the camp. And by the time I get done in the evening, the line is all the way around the camp. And this is what I have to look forward to the rest of my days. Jethro comes along and says, Moses, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? The point I'm trying to make here, ladies and gentlemen, is that as I'm looking at this, as the Father is revealing this to me, it says, see, this is the importance of why you have to teach the people so that they learn the Torah themselves, so they don't always have to come to you and they will wear you out. I have people calling 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. They got an issue. They need somebody to talk to. And oftentimes it's simple stuff. Simple stuff. Because they won't take the time to read, to research, to apply. And part of it is because they haven't been taught. So, we put together a discipleship plan. I'm going to take about 15 more minutes. 20 more minutes. So please, if you need to, feel free to move around. If we get into some bumpy road, I'll fasten your seatbelt lights on. You're free to move around the cabin. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so. Now you got to understand something. People are not going around teaching people how to break the commands. They're not going around saying, hey, let me teach you how to break the Sabbath. Hey, let me teach you how to commit adultery. Hey, let me teach you about, they're not teaching their actions. You see, much of what we learn in church is not coming from the pulpit. It's coming from the observation of the people we're in churches with. You're looking at sister so-and-so and so and brother so-and-so and so. As a child, you're watching and seeing, how does this church thing work? And you learn to mimic the older ones. You learn to mimic the preachers. You learn to mimic the choir directors. You learn to mimic the mothers. You learn to mimic the deacons and the elders. You just learn how this system works. You learn the path. That's what we learned from. The preacher's not teaching a lot of the stuff that we learned. We learned this from watching our parents, watching the elders, watching the others, seeing how far can you push this envelope. Well, you let such and such get away with that. Well, you let such and such do that. Oh, you're showing favoritism. God is not a God of favoritism. He is no respecter of persons. We learn a few verses, and we learn how to manipulate systems and get our ways, don't we? Can I get 2 amen? People aren't teaching you how to break the commands. They're demonstrating them. You learned Sunday was the Sabbath, not because somebody taught you Sunday was the Sabbath, but because people went to church on Sunday and the Bible says you keep the Sabbath, so Sunday must be the Sabbath because that's when people go to church. You ask some Christians out there today, what day is the Sabbath? They'll tell you Sunday. And call you a liar if you say Sunday is not the Sabbath. Try me on that one. They believe that. Well, how did the preacher didn't teach them that? They did it by practice. They learned it by practice. But whosoever shall do, he says, and shall teach men, so he shall be called the least in the kingdom. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom. Now, in my foolishness, when I read that, I was like some of you, says, at least I'm in the kingdom. Anybody ever made that statement? At least I'm in there. And I have to say, where's hell? Hell's the grave. Where's the lake of fire? Do you think that the lake of fire is outside the kingdom? The earth is his. He made the universe. Everything that exists, he made it, and he made the lake of fire. Therefore, the lake of fire is in his domain, and he has the ability to throw people in it. So you be right up in the kingdom, in the least place. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees. You shall in no wise, it's in here somewhere. You shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven. I want to finish today's teaching on this particular verse or passage. And I want to encourage you, because part of what I'm going to get into is the blessings of keeping the commands, and that's the 28 blessings of Deuteronomy 28. I also would encourage you, and these are all over the internet. Just be careful. This is what is called a list of the 613 commandments. And this list of commands, the way I have it done, is broken down. There are certain commands that are for married people. There are certain commands that are for single people. There are certain commands that are for fathers, for mothers, for husbands, for wives, for children, for the priest. I mean, every command doesn't apply to you, but there are commands that apply to you. One of the commands, if you don't mind me, let me read one, deals with not to add to the commands. He said, you don't add and you don't take away. Well, the church said, we're not going to add, we're not going to take away from the commandment, we're just going to throw them all out. So we don't have that problem. Another one is, and this is one that I'm trying to learn to practice is to, and this is not something we should have to learn to practice, but to honor the old and the wise. There's a command that says when a aged one enter the room, you stand up. That's one that I've kind of missed. I've done it at times when I'm thinking of it, and then there are other times when I'm distracted and it doesn't happen. I mean, we got young people walking around here knocking out old people, cussing them out, mistreating them in nursing homes, doing all kinds of detestable things. You think YehoVaH is pleased with that? We need to teach our children to honor their elders, to honor the seniors, and to know that a lifetime of wisdom is packaged, and to listen. They might teach us something. They might help us to learn a few things. But our society and our generation have a tendency to put them away somewhere and negate that responsibility. These are commands, just some simple ones. Again, a very basic one that I think helps us with all the other ones is the command to wear the seat, that one would remember the commands. And I've had people say to me, I don't need no strings to help me to remember the commands. You don't? Well, you've already forgotten them because it's a command to wear them. And if you don't need them, what you're saying is that I don't need the commands to remember the command. Don't be like that, folks. The last thing Moses does before he leaves the children of Israel is that he gives them a song. Now, what precedes this song is YehoVaH says to Moses, Moses, listen, you about to die. Now, let me tell you about these people whose parents I killed in the wilderness. Now, let me tell you something, folks. YehoVaH doesn't change. Don't think for a moment that because Yeshua came, that we have it easier. In many ways we do, but Yeshua came and eliminated the excuses. Because the excuses before Yeshua was, no man can keep the law. And Yeshua says, hold it. Wait a minute. That's not true. It can be done. Let me show you how to do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. That's what he says. The things that I do, you shall do, and greater things shall you do. But the church has already brainwashed and indoctrinated us into thinking we can't do it. You break one law, you break them all. That's not true. That's not what he's saying. If you break one law, you break them all. If you have no regard for the law, then you will break all the laws. But if you have regard for the law and you find yourself violating, what's your response? Repent. Confess. He's faithful and just to forgive you. Okay, you messed up. Don't lie in it. Repent. We serve a faithful Elohim, and if we confess our sin, he is faithful and just to forgive us and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. However, if you can go a second without committing a sin, there's a chance you can go a minute. If you can go a minute without committing a sin, there's a chance you can go 5 minutes. If you can go 5 minutes, maybe you can go an hour. Well, let's push it. Let's see if we can go 2 hours. Maybe a day. A week. Now, the key is not getting lifted up in pride and arrogance and all of that other stuff, but to be always submitted to his will. And if we do fall, get up. Don't be falling down on purpose. We fall down, but we get up. Yeah. Right. Anyway, there's a few of them. You can find them if you're interested. If you're not interested, whoa. Moses says in Deuteronomy chapter 32, and I'm coming to the conclusion of this portion of our teaching, and I certainly appreciate your patience. You have been most patient with me. YehoVaH is saying to Moses, Moses, you're about to die, but you need to understand all these people that are with you whose parents I killed in the wilderness, they are going to backslide big time when you move on. They're not going to keep my commands. They're going to go whoring after other gods. They're going to bow down and worship idols. They're going to do all the things that I commanded them not to do. This is what YehoVaH is saying to Moses. He said, but listen, I want you to teach them this song. I want you to teach them so when they find themselves facing my wrath, because those who do not do what I command will find themselves kicking against the prick. Otherwise, they will be fighting against me, and I will resist them. They will not be blessed going in and coming out. They will have the opposite. They will not be the head. They will be the tail. They will suffer. And when they come to that place to where they're in the midst of their suffering, I want them to know this song, so hopefully they'll sing this song and remember. Deuteronomy 32:1, give ear, O you heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew. As the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass, because I will publish the name of YehoVaH, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He's saying here, when you come to that place, I want you to call out my name. I want you to declare my name. You see, people who have walked away from YehoVaH and find themselves in the midst of it, in the midst of suffering, the enemy comes along, oh, now you want to call on the name of the Lord. He ain't hearing you. You might as well be quiet. You made this bed. YehoVaH says, no, don't listen to him. Don't listen to the enemy. These things are coming upon you that you might come to your senses and realize that you're going in the wrong direction. And so I want you to remember the words of this song, so when you find yourself in that situation, these words you'll sing. He is a rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite YehoVaH, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he your father that has brought you? Has he not made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he sent the bounds of the people according to the number. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Verse 9. For YehoVaH's portion is his people. This is what the Aaronic blessing is all about. You are his people. And every time that blessing is pronounced, the name of YehoVaH is being put on you, declaring that you are the people of YehoVaH. Now act like it. Live like it. You are his ambassadors. You are his representatives. And the earth and the people in the world could care less about the way of YehoVaH. They are seeking the ways of the world, but YehoVaH says, if you seek first his kingdom, his righteousness, all the things that the world is seeking after, I will add it to you. You have my righteousness, you have me living with you, and therefore if you seek me first and stop seeking all that stuff, all the stuff that they're trying to get you to run after with them, I'm going to add it to you. That's a side effect of walking with me. He found him in a desert land and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. He's taking them back to Adam, saying, listen, remember Abraham? See, the people know who he's talking about. He found Abraham in a desert land, in a waste howling wilderness, people worshiping idols. He led him about, instructed him, kept him as the apple of his eye. Speaking of Jacob, Israel. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreads abroad her wings, take them, bear them on her wings. So YehoVaH alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him, verse 13, ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields. And he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys, of wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. But Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, waxed fat and kicked. You art waxed fat. You have grown thick. You are covered with fatness. Then he forsook God, which made him. And this is why he instructed, one of the commands is that when you come into the land and you're eating, and you're eating from trees you didn't plant, you're living in houses you didn't build, you're drinking from wells you didn't dig, and you see that YehoVaH has made you fat, do not forget him. They did that, and they forsook him and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils. And this is YehoVaH's people. They're out there secretly worshiping idols, putting up Christmas trees, running after Easter bunnies, watching balls drop down a phallic symbol. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods. They came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Out of the rock that begot thee, you are mindful, or you are unmindful, and has forgotten God that formed thee. Now Moses is being given this song to teach the children of Israel before he died. Imagine having Moses, having the pillar of fire, the cloud by day, to see all the miraculous works that the Almighty did, and to secretly worship idols as if he can't see. Ladies and gentlemen, what Moses is writing here as a song, I mean, when I read this is in living color in our day. A people, a generation who don't even know who he is. People who are worshiping in places called churches, forsaking the commands of YehoVaH. Everybody doing their own thing, living their own life, going to church for a couple of hours on a Sunday, and they've kept the Sabbath. Not inquiring of him. Every man, listen, the thing about New Testament Christianity is New Testament Christianity makes it up as it goes. I know. The instructions of YehoVaH is not involved in that. People aren't given instructions according to the Torah. That's where the instructions come from. Instead, they're giving instructions according to the denominations. And every denomination is a little bit different. Well, that's not what we believe. Well, that's not what we believe. Well, we believe this. We don't believe that. And where do you get your beliefs from? It was handed down from headquarters. Of the rock that begot you, you are unmindful and has forgotten God that formed you. And when YehoVaH saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. Now Moses is speaking of their future. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. That's bondage. For a fire is kindled in mine anger. My anger is burning so hot, and shall burn unto the lowest hail, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spin mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. Now these are the people he loved. He said, you teach them this song, because they're going to go off. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling, the baby, the itty bitty babies. Also with the man of gray hairs. I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and YehoVaH has not done all this. Verse 28, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them, and YehoVaH had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asps. He's talking about the world. Yeah, they got wine, but let me tell you, that wine is poison. Once they get their fangs in you, is not this laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. Can you imagine standing in the audience while Moses is teaching you this song? YehoVaH is saying, listen, here's where you're going. Here's what you're going to do. And guess what? You're going to hear this song, you're going to hear this word, and you're still going to do it. I'm warning you, but you're not going to listen. I'm telling you, but you're not going to hear me. But when I do what I say I'm going to do, then maybe then you will hear what I said. And maybe then you'll come to a point of repentance. And I'm preaching this hard because our young people are so hard-headed and some of you old folks. You compromise. Compromising with the world, trying to get along with people who care not for YehoVaH. You and the world cannot be yoked. It can't be done. You will not do it successfully. You will try to compromise, try to please, try to get along with people, and ultimately, in order for you to get along with these people, you got to compromise your faith, tiptoe around them, keep your word hid while they are blaspheming our YehoVaH and doing all the detestable things in the midst of us and smiling and grinning and laughing and talking about, what do you mean you don't celebrate Christmas? What do you mean you don't believe that a man can marry another man? What do you mean? God is a God of love. I was listening to this long-haired homosexual talking about, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and I'm openly gay. What Bible you reading from? What denomination is teaching you that junk? And the world is vehemently trying to get you to be tolerant to the abominable things. That's somebody here talking about, some of my friends are transgenders. And they're your friends? They're your friends? How can you be friends with a transgender? How can you be friends with a woman who have married another woman? How do you have fellowship? How do you go into their home and eat with them? How do you go out with them? How do you hang out with men who are looking at other men? If you can do that, something's wrong with you. Well, I'm just trying to get along. Well, I'm just trying to respect. You can't respect idolatry. You call it what it is, and guess what? You will be one with the bullseye. You're supposed to have a bullseye. If you don't have a bullseye, you've already compromised. What do you mean you're a Christian and you openly gay and you and your partner go to church together? What church y'all go to? And you can get angry at me, I don't care. Because I'm not here to try to please nobody up in here, nobody on that internet, nobody on TV. It doesn't matter to me. I'm ready. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything like this, but let me tell you something, folks. You can't compromise with the world. A little leaven, just a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean you going out here and being disrespectful and calling people out of their names. But it doesn't mean you sit down and eat with people who are openly violating y'all's commands as if it's nothing. You can be nice to people questioning how is it that you justify homosexuality as a Christian? Well, I was born this way. Well, you need to be born again. That's what you need. God made you that way. No, he didn't. He didn't make you like that. You chose that life. You just went with the program. You came in the world programmed. Listen, you were programmed as a liar. You were programmed as a murderer. You were programmed as a transgender. You were programmed as a homosexual. You were programmed for whatever it was that the enemy put his stamp on you the day you were born. And if you don't change the program and get reprogrammed with the renewing of your mind according to his word, and you can't just take the new part, you got to take it all. Because if you throw out the old, you have no foundation. Now we got first gentlemen in churches. Gay couples leading congregations. You say, why are you so hard on the gay? I'm just as hard on the adulterer. And there's some crazy stuff going on out there. But you are supposed to be children of light. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you come into the light, the moment you stand as light, the darkness around you is going to have a problem. You cannot be light in the midst of darkness because darkness cannot comprehend it. You walk into a dark room, you turn the light on, the darkness flees. If you can walk in the midst of darkness and not be recognized, chances are you are just as dark as the darkness you are in the midst of. Brother, why are you preaching so hard? Don't you want people to give today? Yeah, people need to know what they're giving to. And I know it's tough, folks. But I can imagine. You see, our Messiah was crucified because he spoke to a people who didn't want to hear what he had to say. They hung him. And he says, listen, now, if you think you're going to follow me and not be strung up, you got another thing coming. That's what my folks used to tell me. Boy, you got another thing coming. If you think you can successfully follow the Messiah without ruffling some feathers, without causing people to have issues, you are mistaken. The fact that you represent him, and you can be wise as a serpent, and you could be gentle as doves, but there is no nice way. You could be as nice as you can be, but when the truth comes, it's going to hurt. And people who are hurt are going to respond one or two ways. They're going to try to hurt you back, or they're going to seek for healing. And that's what you are supposed to bring. You're supposed to bring that healing for those who want healing. But those who want to hurt you back are the ones who reject you. They reject the message that you bring. So now they're going to try to hurt you. And they'll hurt you with their words. They'll hurt you with their actions. They'll try to demonize you. They'll make up stuff on you. They'll try to turn the media against you. You are homophobic. You're Christian. You are messianic. You teach hate. That's a hate crime to tell me that I don't have the right to pursue my liberty and my freedom in this country. You have that right, but understand something. According to this book, you will end up with all the other people pursuing those kinds of rights. There's a lake of fire. There's a lake of fire, and you will end up in it. And that's not the plan of the Almighty. Well, what do? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. Because there's help for you. I remember when I was in a situation, okay, I wasn't that and I wasn't this, but this is what I was. And this is just as bad as that. At least it was for me. So my lifestyle was leading me down the same path, and even though it was a different lifestyle, it was the same path. And the end thereof was not good. So I can share my testimony. I'm not trying to sweeten it up. I'm not trying to act like it don't exist. I know where I came from, and I'll always remember where I came from, lest I forget. The moment I forget is the moment I begin to deal with people like I'm better than them. I'm not better than anybody else. But the one who is better than all of us resides in me. And I can introduce you to him if you want to know him, because he's the one who helped me. He's the one who taught me how to live. I didn't know how to live. I thought I was born this way. I was living my life for me. I was only concerned about making me happy. I wasn't concerned about anybody else. And if you couldn't give me what I want, then I'm on to the next. You understand? That's the world. That's where I came from. That's where people are. And people are looking for answers. They don't need a compromising person because to them, you're a hypocrite. You're talking about you go to church and yet you know your life is just as bad as my life. They hear you in the workplace. They hear your conversations. They see what you watch. They listen to what you listen to. They go on your Facebook page and see who your favorite artist is. They know the music. Wait a minute, you a believer and you listening to this garbage? What? That's your favorite movie? I'm amazed at how many Christians love Medea. How many of you know Medea? Medea is a cross-dresser. How dare a man who puts on a woman's clothes is an abomination. I don't care if it's Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, or whoever else it is. If they're out there acting like a woman, and you got men around here dressing up like Playboy bunnies for Halloween. You're putting on women's clothes, acting like this and acting like that. That's an abomination. But that's not in the New Testament. You see, that's not in the New Testament. Who said I can't listen to some of these rap artists? They're like prophets. Yeah, they're prophets of Baal. Calling people names. Some of the stuff we listen to as believers, some of the stuff we post, if you want to go see a movie, I'm not advocating that you go see these movies, but when you put it out there for everybody else to see, then now it's like you're giving us something to judge. You understand what I'm saying? You're giving us something to judge, and it's letting us into your life. Let me finish this up.
From the beginning of time, from the beginning of the creation of man, YehoVaH has been communicating with mankind. In his dynamic, life-changing teaching, How to Hear God's Voice, author and teacher Arthur Bailey shares important biblical truth that will help you identify and distinguish the voice of the Almighty from all other voices.
When you get in His Word, you are literally getting to know Him.
In this teaching DVD collection, you will learn why YehoVaH communicates with His people, why He wants you to hear His voice, how to identify His voice from others, where He's most likely to speak to you, and so much more. Now, for your gift of $45 or more, Arthur would like to send you as his gift to you this 4-DVD collection, How to Hear God's Voice. Call the number on your screen, visit our website, or write Arthur Bailey Ministries, P.O. Box 1182, Fort Mill, South Carolina, 29716.
Let me finish this up. Which did eat the fat of their sacrifices. Is that where we left? Oh, verse 36. For YehoVaH shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are their gods, their rock in whom they trust? I think we did read that. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill. Who's doing the killing? And I make alive. I wound. Who's doing the wounding? And I heal. There is nobody who can deliver you out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies and will reward them that hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O you nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his hand and unto his land and to his people. And then Moses came and spoke all the words of this song in the ears of the people. He and Joshua, the son of Nun, Joshua, and Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And he said unto them, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which you shall command your children to observe to do, all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life, and through this thing you shall prolong your days in the land, whether you go over the Jordan to possess it. And then I was going to get into Deuteronomy 28, but I'm not going to get into that. I want to just end this portion with why I'm preaching this as tough and as hard as I am. The longer we are in this world, the more the world is going to compromise. It really doesn't have much choice, because the only way the world is not going to compromise is that the world commit its ways to YehoVaH. And you can see that those who claim to have commit their ways to YehoVaH are compromising, which makes compromise easier for the world who have a false sense of what it means to be a believer. We as believers have to be diligent. We have to be steadfast. We have to believe what we say, what we preach, what we teach. We have to live it. And you can't say that you love his law if you don't know his law. You can't say that you keep his commands if you don't know what the commands are. I want to challenge you between now and next week. I want to challenge you. That is, and if you need to, I don't want to be responsible for this. I want you to take that responsibility yourself and define his commandments. Define them. I can share my list with you, but again, as I look through this list of commands, there's some things in here that shouldn't be in here. And I don't want to mislead. But at the same time, I know that you have to be, and I trust you to be wise enough, to be grown enough, to be spiritual enough to look at his word. And if there's something you don't understand, then there's a good place to have some dialogue, to have some conversation over. But you need to know what his commands say. Because if you don't know what they say, how do you know you're keeping them? If you don't know what they say, how do you know that you're not violating them? And here's the thing. For me, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I want to prosper. Now, for me, prosperity is not about living in a big house, driving fancy cars with a lot of money in the bank. For me, prosperity is having everything I need and then some to accomplish the will of the Almighty that he have called me to accomplish, so that I don't have to beg people and come up with all kinds of schemes to get money out of folks. I don't like asking people for money, but I also know that we have not because we ask not. I understand that. There are certain things that I'm compelled to do. But imagine if you had, according to the Torah, the Bible says that you will be a lender and not a borrower, that you will have more than enough. You're supposed to abound. We're supposed to abound. And so I have to ask myself, well, what is it? Why ain't I abounding? Where is the prosperity that comes from keeping this command? Because when we get into Deuteronomy 28, man, there's a whole lot of stuff in here that he says that we're supposed to have. I'm limited in the vision that the Father gave me because of resources. I would like to finance my own vision that he has given me. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like to have everything you need without having to worry or be afraid? Didn't he say that he will supply all of our needs? So my question is, what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? What am I not doing that I should be doing? And then in this prosperity, I want to be able to enjoy it because it's he who gives us the ability to enjoy the fruits of our labor. He wants you to enjoy life. He wants you to be filled with joy. He's come that you would not just have life, but have life more abundantly. He wants you to have a full life. I want a full life. I don't want to play. And I don't want to be hanging out with people who want to play. Because to me, this ain't no joke. This is not a joke. The joke is the world and the people playing church. Do you understand what I'm saying? You and I are supposed to walk in power. We're supposed to walk in authority. We're supposed to walk in abundance. We're supposed to be the head. We're supposed to be high above all nations, everything else. We should not have to go to a corrupt institution to ask them to finance the kingdom of YehoVaH. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why should all these people out there in the world have all the stuff? Now, I know I say stuff and you think, oh man, you just listen. When it comes down to getting on every Christian network out there with the true gospel of the kingdom, they are not giving away that time. And if all these preachers out there can be on that, it costs $20,000 for a 30-minute segment on the Disney Channel. $20,000, and you got ministries out there on the Disney Channel preaching that gospel that really ain't no gospel at all. Abraham and all those who followed YehoVaH, these people were prosperous. How many of you have a problem with prosperity? Okay. Then I think I'm in the right place with the right people.
For more information, visit www.arthurbaileyministries.com or call 704-469-3345. This program is made possible through financial contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.